All right, guys, we want to welcome everybody to episode number 16. And start off with, I want to apologize. Our special guest didn't show up tonight, so I've had to call in backup. No, I'm just kidding. They're sitting back here watching us, but we got Captain Clay in here and Carter and Tate Watkins. But we wanted to come in here and do a little brief recap of our West Point tournament. And so Shannon won the lady angler this past weekend. Caught a 30-pound fish on Friday. Caught a 30-pound fish on Saturday, which I'll be honest with you, after we caught that fish on Friday, I was like, I don't know if we'll get that bite Saturday. I mean, I was worried about it, I'll be honest with you, but we pulled it off, or she did. She caught most of the fish. I had to...
Jeremy put us on the fish. He made a good call first thing in the morning to make a move and found a spot that we had not fished, that fish was there. We had a couple of boats that were close to us that just didn't look up like we did. We nailed them.
Yeah, I mean,
it did good.
Well, it was, so I'll say this, we didn't catch them where we found them on Friday, but we wasn't far. We was pretty close. But one of the spots that I went to, the problem was it was at the mouth of a creek, and they obviously had a bass tournament that morning, and man, these bass boats was coming in and out of this creek just back and forth.
So the intersection of 285 and 75, and you're a stalled vehicle in the center lane. That's what it was fishing like.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I mean, I was afraid my boards was gonna get run over, but I understand them guys. They're trying to get to their spots too and everything. And so anyway, I just made the decision to. It was a blessing in disguise because because of that we made the decision to pull up and move.
Right.
And we went back to where we caught a few fish at on Friday. They wasn't there, but we went a little bit further down from there, not out of sight from there, but pretty close, and was able to get them. So, you know, as a lot of y'all guys know, it's luck. You know, there's a lot of luck involved, but I feel like last year we skunked that tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, we did not catch we didn't even get a bite. Yeah. So I feel like we were due. I feel like, and I kept telling Shannon, I said, it's our time's coming. We just got to keep fishing, and
can't quit. You just can't give up.
So we wanted to get on here and congratulate Shannon for winning the Lady Angler for the Striped Bass Challenge. That's the first time that she's been able to do that. We've been trying for a pretty good while. Yeah. But we ended up
just a couple of ounces a couple of times here and there.
We got beat.
We did.
We got beat by 3 pounds. You know, I mean, I knew that there was. I knew we had a chance, but I knew there was also a chance that Lionel was going to come in with maybe a little bit more than we had, and he did. So, but hey, if you're going to get beat, at least get beat by some of the best. So,
right. Yeah, it was still fun.
We had a great time, and that's
2 days of great fishing.
It was 2 days that we caught some nice. I was impressed by those fish. Those were some fat, healthy stripers.
Yeah.
Bigger than what I've seen up around here. I'll be honest with you.
They look like some Tennessee fish.
Yeah, I was impressed with it. So anyway, we just wanted to give everybody a little recap. We enjoyed it. The Striped Bass Challenge.
Hey, so everybody knows, the Backwoods fishing team came in second.
Yep.
Out of 43 boats.
43 boats.
So it's something to be proud of, Jerry.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We'll
I still wanted to win though. I still wanted to win.
We're riding high.
Let me tell you something. Lionel has been a thorn in my side ever since I started striper fishing tournament. You know, Lionel, man, he's very passionate. If you know him, you know he's passionate about what he does. He loves it. Yeah. And he's going to give it 110%. So if you beat him, you've done something. And we fell short, but we'll try again. So we got the Striped Bass Challenge, and I'm gonna say this too. They raised $94,000 for the Georgia Sheriff's Department down in that area. Unbelievable.
Great job by that team.
I mean,
good job, guys.
And we want to make this announcement too before Shannon goes. On April 3rd, we've actually got Thomas and David Richardson with the Striped Bass Challenge. They're going to be coming in here with us to do a podcast. So we're looking forward to that, excited about it, and so we want to let everybody know so you can go ahead and be thinking up questions to ask those guys.
Yep.
So, but no, Clay and Carter and Tate did show up, so we're going to let them guys come on here, and we're going to talk. So, Shannon, we appreciate you.
Yes,
congratulations on you, Lady Angler. And I'm going to say this too, we got some good stuff we're going to give away. Y'all guys come on. Clay's got to turn his microphone on. And we got a $25 Hammond's gift card. Here, let me slide down. I'll let you. We're gonna put these boys front and center. We got a $25 Hammond's gift card. And then we've got a Minn Kota or a hummingbird. Which one is that? Hummingbird hat. So we're gonna give away a Berkeley Magic Swimmer with this hat. And then somebody's gonna win a $25 Hammond's gift card. So, all right, I got our special guest in here, and we've already got some guys. Yeah, we hate you missed it too, Russ. But we, you know, like I say, we was thinking about you the whole time. So,
Happy birthday.
yeah, happy late birthday, Russ. So, appreciate all these guys coming in. Henry Cowan, glad to see you on here, man. Glad you're doing better. And yeah, I heard Lionel is speaking at the Lanier Striper Club meeting tomorrow night, so maybe you guys can get him to tell y'all where he caught his fish at Saturday. We'll see about that. But so look, I want to introduce these guys to you for those that don't know who they are. Most everybody knows who Captain Clay is, but so this guy right here sitting next to me, he's a familiar face. He's been on here before. Mr. Tate Watkins, but I think we just broke him in on that last one. We're gonna get you going here in a little bit on this one, and then Captain Clay, and then Clay's son Carter Cunningham, and he's the bass guy. He's been so you've been on the bass trail pretty heavy, right?
Yep, pretty heavy for a while now. So.
Yeah. So so obviously your dad is a striper guide. So how did all that evolve with the going that route with the bass?
I don't know. We just bought a bass boat one day pretty much, and we just like doing bass fishing tournaments, you know.
Yeah.
Blast, all's fun, and I don't know. There's not like a high school striper fishing, so we tried the bass fishing. I get out just about every Friday.
High school.
Use ass and see go fish.
High school striper fishing. That sounds like a good idea to me.
There you go.
That ought to be that. Yeah.
Make it a whole family event.
Yeah,
every
mate.
weekend.
That's right. Yeah, that's
Sure.
So we've mentioned on here before that we've mentioned on here before that we didn't. So LJ said that you had raccoon eyes. You want to know why? Because he's been on the water. That's why. That's a man that's been on the lake right there.
It's a permanent fixture anymore.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
So look, I got a couple questions for Clay. I've been thinking of some stuff all day, but we're going to get into try to cover all of it. But I want to know, you know, I know you've been fishing Lanier a long time. How long you been fishing, guiding on Lanier, or fishing Lanier?
I've been guiding since 2000. And then I worked at Hammond's during high school and stuff in the 90s. And then, you know, kind of involved into the guiding after college. Went to North Georgia and went to UGA for a little bit for graduate stuff. But that was too far from the lake, so
Yeah.
made it back to the lake and been really happy and enjoy. I get to meet so many good people, and they're, you know, I think that's probably what I enjoy most about the guiding is the people, because this is kind of funny, is everybody that I take fishing is in a good mood because they're off work and they're fishing, so I never have to deal with anybody in a bad mood. It's just, I'm having fun every day.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Living the dream. And I knew you'd been doing it a long time, so probably 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So did you have somebody that mentored you when you started, or did you just start on your own?
I really just had to read what little bit was out there. Like,
There wasn't a lot back in the 90s,
no,
was
there
it?
was a book that I read that I probably learned the most from was it was called Trophy Stripers by Steve Baker. You remember the one that did the Baker bait tanks?
Mm-hmm.
Read that thing from the public library because, you know, this was before the internet, and I still have that book, and it had a lot of good information. It's still, you know, pertinent today. And then when I got to guiding, you know, there's always people I could count on to ask questions. And I'd say the two people I probably learned the most from that standpoint would be Mac and Don Robertson.
Okay.
You know, so they always help me with stuff, you know, anything business related, or just if I had a question, I probably called Mac more than anything. Like, why do you think this is this? He always had an answer, so I would say that.
Yeah, I think Mac has been the hat's in the way. Let's move the hat out of the way. Henry Cowan said, if we look just below your ears, Clay, that you have gills.
Well,
Is that true?
I hope not.
that means you're a fishy dude. So hey, scroll back up on these. Hey, there's your grandma. We was just talking about her earlier. Scroll back up here. We want to make sure we recognize everybody that's come in here, and I've already seen all them. So go back down a little bit. Appreciate everybody coming in here. Keith Shambly, Mike Chastain, Mike Eberhart. Appreciate Steve Mark. Man, you was just on here a couple weeks ago. Appreciate all these guys supporting us and everything. So look, I want to say this. I know you've been doing this a long time, Clay, but from what I gather, obviously you've been a mentor to your son, but you've also been a mentor to this. I'm not going to call him a kid. He's not a kid anymore. He's a young man. But you've also mentored him as well. That's what we learned here on the last podcast when you was on here with Terry. So tell us a little bit about how that all come about. So Clay's the one that got you the bug? Is that how it all happened?
Oh yeah.
Tell us about it.
I used to go out with Clay when I was probably 6, 7 years old.
Really?
And then we'd go with him once or twice a summer. And then, we didn't go with him for a while. And then Dad bought a boat. And then I was like, see if I can get into guiding a little bit, And then, I did. And then, but yeah, Clay, he helped me out a lot.
Yeah.
So,
So Clay, when you took this boy fishing when he was 5 or 6 years old, did you have an inkling of a thought that he might turn into a fishing guide?
Well, I know he liked to fish, so you never know, and well, that's awesome. It makes me happy. So
Yeah.
glad to see him out there.
Well, and
having a good time.
and I know there's a couple different ways people can look at it. I know some people might think that, well, I don't want to help somebody get started and then come in here and take my business out from underneath it. But at the same time, like we've talked about on here before, these guys are the future of the sport.
Oh, absolutely.
We're not going to be here forever, and I've already seen, we've had guys on here like Robert Edison. He's getting down towards the end of his career, and he already said that, and he's passing the torch over to Steve. And so I think it's great to have these guys coming on as long as these guys go about it the right way, and try to gain respect. I feel like that's what I had to do when I started out. I was like, man, all these old guys are gonna hate me because I'm the new kid on the block. But I had to get out there and prove myself, and not only prove myself, but gain their respect in a sense of, I had to prove to them that I could go out there and do my own thing, catch my own fish, put my customers on fish without having to follow them around or mess them up or whatever. And then next thing you know, these guys start coming around and we begin to be friends and talk and share information and that kind of thing. So if you go about it the right way and do people right, it'll go a long ways. And I feel like these kids are, I'm sorry, I ain't gonna call you a kid no more. Young man, these young men are doing a good job at it. So Carter, you've been burning up the bass thing, man. Tell us a little bit about some accomplishments. I know y'all been winning some tournaments or placing up in the money anyway.
Yeah, we've been doing pretty good. Last year in the summer, we got 4th in the national championship at Hartwell. And then I fished in an adult tournament, one of the Bassmaster Opens, and got 4th again. So that's probably been my 2 proudest ones just because they're really big tournaments.
You got some big sponsors?
Nah, not really. I mean, I got some good sponsors like Georgia Blade. They're really good. They help us out all the time.
Yeah.
Great
A
people.
bunch of other people.
Yeah. That's
Hammond's Fishing.
Hammond's, okay. Well, that's good, man. So you started out doing the high school bass fishing stuff, and so they have a what y'all are calling a Bassmaster series for high school bass fishing. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, cool. So look, LJ said you had a couple hairs out of place, Carter. You got to get your hair fixed right if you're going to be a superstar. So like I said, we appreciate all these guys coming on here. Y'all keep commenting and don't be afraid to ask these guys questions, because if you comment on here, we're going to put your name down. You're going to have a chance at winning some stuff here in a little while when we get wrapped up. But I wanted to ask Clay this too, since we're coming up on that time of year which I know a lot's going to change in the next 2 to 3 weeks, but Striped Bass Challenge is coming up on Lanier. So what is the current fishing report on Lanier right now? I can't think of anybody better to ask than you. What's our current fishing report over there?
Oh, absolutely. It's going to change a lot, as you know. Over the past few weeks, the medium shiner, small bait winter pattern has still been holding on, but it does seem, it's going to break any day. As I know Tate's dad, Jason, caught some on herring this weekend. It's finally, but 2 weeks ago, you couldn't hardly get bit on a herring. But this weekend, things are changing, and that's going always, when the water gets in the low 50s, they start changing over to herring and gizzard shad. There's some fish caught this weekend on gizzards as well, as we expected. So it's changing quick. We just
Yeah.
got to get 2-3 days of hot sun, and we all going to be pulling herring and shad and give up on the shiners. So
Yeah.
good with me.
So what kind of things are you looking for when them fish are transitioning from that, I guess you could say, a small bait to a bigger bait profile? What kind of areas are you looking for to target these fish? Is it just points, flats, or I mean, I know I've seen some good open water bites over there too in April in the past.
Exactly. I think the easiest way to describe it is, a lot of times in the winter, a lot of the fish will be deep over that deep water, and then as it warms up some, they're going to move up vertically to the surface of the bays right now, and then when we eliminate these cold nights, the shallows will stay warmer overnight. They'll start moving to the banks, and that's when, April is inevitably usually the month where the banks will take over, but you still have some that hang out in that open water staging to go upriver,
Yeah.
like the mouth of Flat Creek, as we always know, is one of the key areas.
Yep. I remember Jeff Blair catching like a 40-something pound striper out there in the mouth of Flat Creek years ago, and on that open water bite. So, yeah, and I'm still working on it. Jeff, if you're listening, I still want to get you on here, man. I know this ain't really your thing, but we want you to come and set with us if you can ever make time for it. So we'll have to get him before deer season though. So, yeah, Jason said it was good to see young men invested in fishing. I wish he could have started at a younger age, and he said maybe he could have caught a few more. But I think it's great that Tate was going to fish with us this past weekend. He was going to go to West Point fish with us, but got sick on us, so we'll give him a rain check on it. But you like I say, you just took another job, which I think, I know you was a little bit upset about it because you want to just jump in full-time fishing, but I think you made a smart choice by having that backup plan, because it's hard. I'm sure Clay can tell you, it's hard to get established. I mean, it takes somebody that's been doing it for 20, 30 years like these guys have to have the clientele of people to be able to get through, the bad economy and that kind of thing and stuff. So it's tough. I mean, I took another job too, a part-time job, and still trying to fish too and book my other guys and stuff like that. So, I mean, I think but you ain't giving up on it though.
Oh, no.
You ain't gonna give up on it. We ain't gonna let him give up on it. He's, like I said, Tate, and I know I mentioned this the last time, but when we had him lined up to come here the first time, Tate called me up and he said, "Hey, you wanna go fishing? It's been a good top water bite." Sure, man. Well, he didn't tell me it was going to be a great topwater bite, but maybe you didn't know, but it was insane. I mean, it was absolutely insane. And we've got a video of that on YouTube, we've got up almost 10,000 views on that right now. So, but I can't thank him enough for taking me out. Me and him and Joe Hillard went out that morning, and it was crazy. But Tate worked his butt off. I mean, he was running and gunning, and I'm like, this would be hard to do with customers. Like if you had older people in the boat that don't have good balance and stuff, because Tate's like, hold on. I mean, he didn't even give you time to set it, but you had to go, So I'm like, man, if somebody strapped me to this T-top, this kid's gonna throw me in the lake, But I just hadn't really ever done that type of fishing to that extent. I mean, like we'd be out there pulling baits and we'd see some fish come up close by and we'd throw a swimmer or up top water or something at it. But as far as just going out there, I bet you burnt $100 of fuel.
Oh,
I still owe you a fishing trip for that day, man. So we got it. But that was an incredible day. So LJ said, Clay, do you live scope for stripers or just win bass fishing?
I find myself using it more and more for the stripers. You just can see so much with it, it's hard not to. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think, the live scope is something that, we've talked about on here before. It's been taught to death, but it's definitely a plus. I mean, no matter how you look at it, it's an advantage. Now, I'll say this, did we have to have live scope this weekend to catch them fish at West Point? No, we didn't have to have it. But I can see where can be a lot of situations where it could be an advantage against somebody that doesn't have it. So, I mean, all the bass guys I'm sure you've probably mastered it by now, Carter. I mean, do you even remember what it was like before live scope?
Yeah, it was funner to get a bite, but it's also really fun to know you're throwing at fish every time too.
Yeah, and see how those fish are reacting.
You can learn way more on live scope.
Yeah, it's just giving you it's just giving you a view that we've never had before. We've never had before. So, and I think when these fish, when stripers, when they get, sometimes stripers can get boat shy. I feel like they get boat shy. You pull right up on them and they don't want to bite or they don't want to stay on the boat or whatever. Which, we all know the tricks that people's learned over the years to try to help keep them fish under the boats, thumping and that kind of stuff. But there's times where that don't work. I've thumped and then they leave.
Absolutely.
So being able to see them fish on that forward-facing sonar and know, if they're out so far out to your left or whatever, that could determine, which way you're going to turn as you're pulling your spread or how far out you're going to let you planer boards. I mean, I could see. I don't think it's as much of a must-have for striper fishermen as it is bass fishermen right now, but it's definitely a plus. I tell you where I feel like it would help us the most is on the bait, and I'm catching shad. Yeah. I mean, it's being able to get up there because I've used it on other boats to be able to get up there and scan that forward-facing sonar as you're throwing your net. It's the real deal. So Henry Cowan, let's see. He wants to know from Carter. Carter may not want to tell that, but he wants to know from Carter hang on, that thing just went crazy on. The 5 must-have bass lures for May, June, and July.
I'd probably say fluke, shaky head, chug bug, wake bait, and what was I thinking? That's 4.
Walking bait.
Yeah, walking bait too, or even like a flutter spoon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Catch some big ones.
Catch some big ones. So there you go, Henry. Renee wants to know what a good live scope setup is. One make better than the other. So I'm gonna say this. I'm a Humminbird guy, and I think Clay is too. Is that what you got on your boat, Carter?
We got a Garmin.
You got Garmin.
Humminbird for everything else because Humminbird's mapping, side image, and 2D stuff is pretty much better than anyone else.
So here to answer that question, I feel like Garmin probably had the upper hand on the Panoptix live scope when it first come out. That seemed to be the better because I would see bass boats all the time. They'd have a Garmin in the front and a Lowrance or a Humminbird in the back, and that's I never like I say I've never had 2 graphs. I've always just had one on my console, but I figured out real quick that a lot of guys was leaning towards that Garmin, but the Mega Live 2, that's what I was just fixing to say. From what I've seen of it, the Mega Live 2, they've stepped it up.
Yeah, I've heard the same. We just haven't had one yet.
You just had, well, I don't have it yet either, but it's in the works. So yeah, I mean, I'll say this, in courtesy of my good friend Bill Carson, Renee, get a Humminbird, man. The bird don't lie. That's what my thing's always been. Get you a Humminbird. Try this new Mega Live 2. But I think, I don't think you could go wrong with Garmin either on that live scope. But like Carter said, Humminbird, to me, their mapping, side imaging, even the 2D, it's awesome. And the new Explorer that's out now, the clarity, the speed of it is unreal. So that would be the way I would lean towards. So let's see what Rodney said. Is the downline bite moving to more planer boards now? Clay, you could probably answer that question.
I don't even have a downline tied up, I think, in my boat now already.
So that should answer that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad idea when you're in open water to put a couple out, get a bonus fish or 2. But as many rod holders I got in the boat, I can just about catch as many or more on the free line that I'd be putting that downline out on the board. So I'm just going to put more free lines and boards.
Yeah.
Out pretty much.
Yeah. Well, I've always told people, it's hard to pull boards and downline. I mean, you can do it. I mean, you can stick 2 downlines out, but what you notice when you're pulling a mile per hour, 0.8, 0.9 mile per hour, all of a sudden they're not downlines anymore. They're just like a weighted free line.
Yeah.
Pretty much. They're dragging behind the boat, weighted down. So, and I just feel like you can do that, but you're going to have to change your bait out more often. You're dragging that thing with a 1.5 ounce, 2 ounce downline weight, and you're dragging that thing a mile per hour, it's going to wear your bait out pretty quick. But yeah, I think, what's the water temp right now up there?
We were on Seminole all weekend, but I imagine it's still 50 degrees, isn't it?
What'd you tell me the other day? 51, 52?
I think so.
Yeah.
53 in Flat Creek.
53 in Flat Creek. So when we left West Point Saturday, the shallow water stuff was hitting 57, 58.
It's getting on up there.
It's getting on up there, so which is warmer down that way. So I think they're a little bit ahead of the pattern than what we are. So, but you know, it's coming. I mean, it's coming. It's going to be here. Oh no, Keith, don't tell me that. Keith McKinnon said it was 48 degrees today. Where was you at, Keith? In the river chasing gar? See, LJ said 50, 53. Well, that's the thing about Lanier. Lanier's so big, you could talk to 4 different people and be getting 4 different water temps, depending on if they're in a creek or if they're up the river or they're out in, you know, on the main lake. There can be a lot of different water temps out there. We'll just say low 50s is kind of where it's hanging out at right now. And I feel like, I want to see how Clay feels about it, but I feel like when that water temp gets between 55, 58, that's when that springtime thing really kicks off.
Yeah, 55 in the morning, I'm a lot happier.
Yeah. Usually fish are more active. They're hitting bigger baits. As Keith said, he was mid-lake and it was 48. So now your transducer may be messed up, Keith. We ain't listening. We're looking for warmer weather and warmer water temps. So Craig said, what's the best time of year or the day to pitch a live bait? Do you do a lot of pitching on your guide trips, or do you just pull?
Especially pitching is great with kids because they can actually keep them more involved.
Yeah.
So if you can get on some of that shallow stuff when they're up shallow, you know, in April and May, that's one of the funnest times because you'll catch a lot of bass as you're doing it, especially with kids. It keeps them busy. So,
right.
You know, keeping the kids busy and happy goes a long way. So, but you know, like right now, Tate and I were talking a little bit about it too. It's not a bad idea to keep a spinning rod with a herring on it right now. If you have some shad out and you got one come up and he doesn't really want to commit to the shad, you can pitch that herring out to and get a bonus
Get hooked up.
fish as well. So
Yeah, that's something to keep in mind, guys. I've always said, even if they're not hitting the bigger baits, never hurts to have a few of them out there for teasers or to get them wound up, you know, get them coming up. And a lot of times, you know, that'll get them up. And then like Clay said, you can pitch that bait out there to them. But, you know, that's something that we've kind of learned over the years. I do the same thing at Carter's, Craig, you know, certain times of the year. It's usually a little bit later in the spring for us at Carter's, but there's times where we can pull up, I can spot lock off a point, and I can have kids or adults or whoever pitching baits up on the point, sit there, catch spotted bass, maybe even hybrids and stripers, depending on what's coming through that area at the time. So, and like you said, that kind of keeps people, some people like that kind of fishing, especially people that lean more towards the bass side of fishing. They like to have a rod in their hand. They like to be pitching it, you know, but I'm the opposite. I like to be pulling big bait, especially this time of year. So, so yeah, LJ said early it was 48, 49 degrees, but around 1 it was 53. So yeah, I mean, look guys, I think, you know, you can't put too much, I mean, it gives you something to go off of, but it's just surface temp.
exactly.
You know, the fish are not staying up on the surface. That's what we're seeing, because you got to think where our transducers are on our boat. But down there where the fish are usually hanging out, it's a whole nother world. So, I mean, what are you thinking? If the water temp is, yes, sir, I use spot lock. I wouldn't know what to do without it. But if the water temp if the water temp is hanging around, you know, that low 50 thing, I mean, like I said, I think right now it could go either way. I mean, I think you could anchor up on points, pitch some baits, maybe get some fish starting to come up. They was at West Point. They was coming up on them points and flats and stuff and feeding, especially in the middle of the day. So, but you know, I've seen Carter's here lately, man. There's still some wintertime stuff going on too. You know, there's still fish deeper, 40, 50 foot deep. Probably still some fish that could be caught on downlines. But yeah, Craig was talking about for his kid. Yeah, it's a fun bite, man. That pitch bite can be fun. So, well, look, I'm gonna get Tate. You're gonna have to talk, buddy. You're gonna have to talk about something. Your grandma has tuned in here. You got your whole fan club on here. You're gonna have to talk about it. So tell us a little bit about what you got going on. You took another job, but you're still gonna be guiding. So tell us a little bit about what you got going on.
I'm working with Brandon Davis, and
So you're working for a fishing guide?
yeah. But I'll be, you know, in the evenings and on the weekends.
Yeah.
And then every now and then during
Until you can get your clientele built up, and then you're gonna tell Brandon. No, I'm kidding. I'm gonna tell you what, Brandon Davis is a stand-up guy, man. I think a lot of him. He's a good dude. We had a big time when he was on here, so
he hasn't been fishing yet this year.
yeah. So like what LJ was saying, don't put too much on the surface temps. It's something to go off of, but don't put too much into that, guys. Put more into what you're seeing on your graph and what you're getting bit on the end of your hook than you are surface temps, because sometimes that can really throw you. But yeah, we're still seeing fish deep at Carter's, and I think it's because that water's still it's warmer. I know it's may be hard for people to understand, but in the summertime, the water deeper is colder, but it flips. And in the wintertime, it's the complete opposite. The surface temp gets cold, and the water down deeper, like at Lanier, it could be a 20, 30 foot down, but at Carter's, we see them down 50, 60, even 70, 80 foot deep. And like I said, it could be, what do you think? It's 10, 15 degrees difference from surface to where the fish are? What's your take on that?
One thing I think it gets overlooked is not necessarily the temp, is the change in the temp on the surface. Shad especially do not like a change in temperature on the surface. At the cold nights, it's a shock value is what kills the bait a lot of times, is a change. So if they go deep, the temperature doesn't change, it's stable, and you don't end up shocking them, and they get comfortable down there. So that's a big part of it. I think gets overlooked.
Yeah, I've always said, sudden, any kind of sudden change. That's why if you've had 2 or 3 weeks of good consistent weather, and then you have a cold front, like a really bad cold snap, and the water temp drops 5 or 6 degrees, it can mess up everything. And it's just that sudden change, And I've even seen it when it warmed up real fast, and it would kind of mess it up. It just seems like it takes them fish a while to settle in and to get on a pattern. And that the weather and the water temp, man, can really. So Derek wants to know when you're going to start doing guide trips, Carter.
Yeah, I've done a few, but if I were going to do something, it'd probably be bass trips or go through topwater for stripers using live scope. It's really fun.
Yeah, well, man, that'd be good. That way Dad can keep doing his striper trips, and then you could do the bass stuff. Y'all could have it all covered.
Yeah.
So that'd be good.
I like striper fishing too, but bass fishing, for me, I just like moving around and from spot to spot.
You may be the first tournament bass angler that I've heard that said I like striper fishing too. Most bass guys hate stripers. Why is that?
I don't know. Probably because when they're in a tournament, they catch a striper. It takes them.
It's like
one in on 8-pound line.
Right.
They're not too happy about it.
Yeah, but man, I tell you what, that's still got to be an adrenaline rush though. Even if you are at a tournament, you hook a big striper on light tackle. It'd be hard for me to be mad about that, but I get it that y'all got money on the line, And that's kind of like with us down there this weekend. We didn't want to catch a hybrid. We didn't want to catch a little striper. And that's what I've tried to explain to, these guys that fish for me is it's the thing about tournament fishing and guiding. You have to have a different approach, because when you're guiding, you're going to do whatever you got to do to put fish in the boat and get rods bent. But when you're tournament fishing, you're looking for 2 big bites.
Yeah.
Well, for the striper tournaments. Now for y'all have what, 3 fish, 5 fish bags, 5 fish bags. Yeah. But still, so even though that, you're looking for 5. You're not. I'm sure you don't care. Nobody cares if you go out there and catch 30 bass. You just got to have 5 big ones. So how tell us how you approach that. Well, I'll say this. I know you can't tell us. I don't want you to tell us all your secrets. You can't give everything out. But what's different with bass about how you go about approaching a tournament where you got to have 5 big fish versus if you was just going to go out there, you and Tate going to go out there fun fishing? How would you approach it differently? What would you do to prepare for it differently?
Well, say on Lanier, you got to have 5 big ones, way over 20 pounds, just to win a tournament or even get a check on Lanier now. So I would say south. But if I was going fun fishing, I'd probably go above the bridge just because you can catch way more bass and stripers too. But
seems like in bigger spots down on the south end then.
Yep.
Okay.
There's some big ones above the bridge too.
Yeah. Is the largemouth population in Lanier, is that something that's still there? Or?
It's getting bigger.
I think it's actually increased a little bit
Really?
last year because this past fall in the tournaments there was way more largemouth caught than in previous 4 or 5 years, and maybe longer. There was a lot of 4 to 5s. So we definitely had a pretty good spawn somewhere a couple of years ago that those fish are getting up 4 or 5 pounds, and it's good to see because there was a lot, way more than we're accustomed to seeing, I would say.
Yeah, that's good.
It's good to see.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I've seen, and I said it when LJ was on here last time. I mean, Lake Lanier has turned into one of the premier spotted bass fisheries in the southeast.
Yeah.
Probably the best.
Probably the best. I mean, man, I've seen some big bags come out of there, you know. Even on some of these local tournaments, man, these guys catching some big fish. So, so y'all, these are all questions for y'all. Craig wants to know, when can he move away from the small baits? He said it can't happen soon enough. So I'm not going to sit here and say that, you know, that it's time to put them up completely, but from a bass side, I don't know if he's talking about stripers or bass, but I'd say we're real close to that transition, wouldn't you think, Clay?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
If I had to put a number on it, I'd say 55 degrees, but you know, it's more to it than that.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
definite answers in fishing.
Well, we was, like I said, our water temp at West Point was 54 to 55 starting out, and then it would end up 56 to 58 by the end of the day on that, you know, when the sun was out. And we was catching them on bigger baits. You know, did we load the boat? No, but we caught the fish we needed. So I'd say down there it's already happening. Usually it starts down there, and then we're next. You know, and I've even seen that difference between Carter's Lake and Notley, where Carter's usually, that spring bite usually starts up first. Notley's usually a little bit behind. I've seen it where it didn't really get good at Notley till the end of April or on into May, because that's up in Blairsville. And believe it or not, I've left here before and went to Blairsville, an hour north of here, and it'd be 10 degrees colder up there than it is here.
Yeah.
Up in those mountains, and that makes a difference. So it seems like it's, you know, everybody kind of behind, but we're so Craig's talking about stripers. Yeah, Craig, when that water hits 55, 56 degrees, buddy, you need to be putting some bigger baits out. I'd probably already have some out just in case. But so James wants to know, how did you catch fish on Seminole?
We didn't do a whole lot of catching on Seminole.
Oh no.
You'll have to ask Hayden on that. Hayden, he's the one that caught him this
You
time.
won that one.
Yeah, he had a big bag. So
Yeah. So he.
him and Jack have been putting the hammer down.
Yeah. Derek wants to know, what in the world you're throwing with 8-pound line.
Jig head minnow and just about everything else I throw on a spinning rod. Just 10-pound braid leader to 8-pound fluoro leader. Shaky head. Some people think that's too light, but I've never really had any problems with it. So standard, I'd say I always use 8. That's drop shot. Well, drop shot I'll go to 6, but
Yeah.
shaky head, tie tag, just about everything.
Minnow and a minnow would be my answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Minnow in the minnow. So, all right, scroll back up if you don't care right here. Let's make sure we got everybody's. And if you're listening and you hadn't commented on here, you better drop us a comment if you want a chance at some of this stuff we're gonna give away here in just a minute, because we got it. We got some cool stuff we're gonna give away right here. So, I think we've done got it. I think we're caught up on our water temp, or our water temp, on our questions, and was talking about water temps and all this kind of stuff right here. So, so look, Tate, I want to ask you a couple questions right here.
All right.
So, what you've been doing this for how long?
Like, let's say about 3 years.
You've been guiding for 3 years, but you said you fished on Clay's boat when you was 5 and 6 years old.
Yeah, probably.
Well, I wanted to say that Tate has come a long way in that 3 years, and there's many times that I call him on, as long as I've been doing this, when I pick up the phone, I'm calling Tate sometimes because he knows his stuff, and don't let his young age fool you that he knows his stuff inside and out. And there's a reason I'm calling him.
So I've had, and I hate this, but I still get it to this day. But especially when I started out, I was 19, 20 years old, and people would get on the boat, and the first thing they'd ask me is, how long you been doing this?
Yeah.
And it's like I knew that they was already second guessing or doubting me because I was young. You ever had that?
All the time.
You get it all the time?
I've been there too. I
And then
remember
when
those
we have
days.
Just hey, when they ask you that, when they say how long you been doing it, just say long enough.
Yeah.
That's it.
Long enough. So, but I mean, hey, that Clay's right. I mean, hey, we got some young guys up on Carter's, Captain Hook, Hunter Hook, and I mean, these guys, I talk to them all the time. They help me out too. I mean, you know, I mean, like I said, don't be scared to book these guys just because they're young, and because these guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, they've got, you know, as much drive and passion as the older guys do, maybe more in a lot of ways. But you know, I'm sure the getting up, I mean, Clay, you've had it to where, I guess for the most part, you've bought your bait for all your trips all these years. Is that correct? Or did you go through a time when you caught your own bait?
I mean, there was always times back in the day you had to catch your own shad or you didn't have shad.
You didn't have shad, yeah.
I mean,
It's kind of gotten out to where if you don't catch it, you just, I mean, for me, I can't afford them.
oh, exactly.
Not as many as I want, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I go fish a tournament, I want to have 40 or 50 big shad. I can't go to the bait shop and buy that. I mean, you know, that's expensive, you know. So, you know, I think that's what kind of, you know, burned me out a little bit up here over the years, is the getting up every day and catching bait, because we have no bait shops unless you want to stop at somewhere and get shiners. If you want the herring we have up here, alewives, if you want alewives, if you want thread fins, you want gitter shad up here, you're going to have to catch them. That's just all there is to it. So, but in a way, it's good because we save our money on our bait. But for y'all, it's convenient to be able to, you know, to pull up there and get you bait and just go fish. It's one less thing you got to worry about. I'm gonna tell you something. It's stressful if you're on the water at 4 o'clock in the morning and the bait ain't coming up to the light, and you're looking at your clock and you're like, man, I got customers coming in, you know, an hour or 2 hours, and I ain't got enough bait yet. It's tough. That's stressful.
Oh, I can imagine. I'm blessed to have a Hammond so close to us.
We need a Hammonds up here. So if if Jason and Tim Hawkins are listening, maybe y'all should expand and come on up this way, help us out a little bit. So, Matthew, I'm guessing it's a question for me, but Matthew wants to know what size net I throw for big shad. I use a 10-foot 5/8 is what I use, because with that, you know, you can catch big shad, you can catch medium shad. Now, if you really just want to go for big shad, you can throw the mullet net, you know, the 1 inch, 12-foot 1 inch, if you really want to, you know, just go for Mongo shad. But yeah, I think a 10-foot 5/8 is what I use most of the time, just to get all different size baits. So, and yeah, we're looking forward to having Gunner and Charles Ingram on here at the end of May. Amanda, we're looking forward to that. A heavy net? No, I don't throw a heavy one, because a lot of times with the shad, you know, sometimes it ain't like you just pull up and throw once or twice. Sometimes you got to throw. And, you know, I can't throw no, you know, 1.5 pound, 2 pound per foot, 10-foot net that many times. I use the net I throw, Matthew, I usually use a super spreader, a Phytech super spreader, 10-foot 5/8, 1 pound per foot. Because I'm gonna tell you something, 90% of the time where I'm at, the shad I'm catching are in 2 to 6 foot of water, and you don't really need a, you know, a real heavy net in 2 to 6 foot of water. Now, if you're catching them in 20 foot, 30 foot of water, you might need a heavier net. But yeah, but man, on Lanier, yeah. But man, throwing, I mean, that'll about kill your back. So yeah, I'm not gonna comment on that, LJ. So you know now you got to order 6 of them, man. That's a long story. So LJ comes up here. I'm gonna tell this because it is funny. LJ comes up here last time, and they stopped up here at a little place up here that we have in Jasper to eat called Speedy Burger, and he orders a Speedy Burger. Well, he didn't know a Speedy Burger was a little bitty like a Crystal's burger, you know. So he orders 1 Speedy Burger. He pulls it out. And he's like, "What the heck is this?" He's like, "I can't do nothing with this." So that's what he's talking. That's what he's talking about. Yeah, you need to order 6 of them. You need to order 6 of them next time. But getting back on that that size of net, I think there's, you know, different circumstances are going to call for different size nets. I really do. But for me, you know, I try to avoid that. when them shad get out in that deeper stuff, when they're in that 20, 30 foot of water, it's going to be tougher to get them and load up on them when they're that deep, no matter what. So I just, I try to pick those warmer days when I know they're going to be pushed up shallow in the back of the creeks, or, the places I go is a little bit different than Lanier, Matthew. So I might tell, what I use might not be really what you need at Lanier. You might need something a little bit heavier. So, but anyway, so, excuse me. Tate, you're going to have to talk, man. I've run out of stuff to talk about. We appreciate all these guys coming here, and I apologize. I messed up at the beginning. Me and Shannon got talking about West Point. We're still on cloud nine about West Point. But I got to thank all of our partners that have helped us put this podcast together and help us keep it going. B&B Custom Outdoors, AA Graphics and Signs, Jill of All Trades, Simpson Trucking and Grading, Tangle Trout Cabin Rentals, Captain Max, and Heads Up 2 Taxidermy. Thank all them guys. Hard to find. What do you mean they're hard to find? You talking about shad, or you talking about cast nets, Matthew? I don't clarify that for me. I don't know what you're talking about. But so look, I got one more question for Clay, and then I've run out of stuff to think about. We're gonna have to go to our audience out here. But the one thing that I wanted to ask him, because as everybody knows, your guide service is called catching, not fishing. Have you ever had anybody throw that in your face?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever had I know you've had a bad day, and somebody's had to throw that up in your face.
Oh, yeah, more than once.
How have you handled that?
This happened so many times I don't even know. It just, the way I see it, I call it catching, not fishing, because would you rather fish with an optimist or a pessimist? I plan on going fishing.
That's
If
right.
you plan on going fishing, that's a pessimist, and that's not who I want to go fishing.
Your intentions is to catch them every
That's right.
time.
I'm going to do everything I can.
To catch them. That's how I look at it too. But I think it was, from a business aspect, from that side of it, from a marketing side of it, I think it was genius. Catching, not fishing. But you wouldn't believe the people that I've had on my boat that says, I'm having a tough day, and they're like, well, it's fishing, not catching. And I'm thinking about Clay the whole time. I'm like, maybe they need to go with him, because he's catching, not fishing. But that's, like I say. So, man, LJ is wearing us out, man. Matthew said the shad was hard to find. Well, I think right now, Matthew, that if the water temp's 51 degrees, them shad are probably going to be deeper. And it's going to be, unless they're piled up somewhere, you find them piled up, it's going to be hard to get them, man. I mean, I hate to say it, but we're going to have some warmer weather and warm the back of these creeks and these flats and stuff, and these shallow places where them things like to push up in there. When they push up in that shallow water, buddy, it's going to be easier to find them and catch them. So they can't get away from you as quick as they can in that deep water. But LJ said 2 questions. Striper guys, do you ever use trout? Carter, how are you catching them on Lanier right now? Cranking shallow or out deep? Why is he asking all these questions? Man, he ought to know this stuff. Nah, I'm kidding with you, man. We appreciate you. So, Carter, how are you catching them right now on Lanier?
Right now, definitely early in the morning, start shallow. Well, I haven't fished Lanier in about a week and a half, so it could have changed, but I know there's a lot moving up shallow, definitely on docks, just getting ready to spawn here pretty soon once the water temp hits 60. But I would say start shallow early, and then just depending on how the day goes, there's still a bunch of fish out deep that you can catch on the Mickey baits and jighead minnow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different stuff going on right now. Yeah, that's what I said too, Brent. That was a genius marketing slogan. But I kind of knew the answer to that question before I even asked Clay. I knew he was going to say that he'd had people throw that up. I could see where people would be like, "Oh, I thought this was catching, not fishing." But the reality of it, guys, it's fishing no matter where you go. No matter what lake you go to, there's always that chance. Just like I said earlier, we went to West Point last year, and we wasn't fishing far from where we fished this year, and we skunked. And then this year, we went down there and basically doing the same thing, in a little bit different location, and we did a lot better. So, that's just the way it is. But yeah, it's a genius marketing slogan, catching, not fishing. So if there's anybody out there that's looking for a fishing guide on Lake Lanier, Clay'd be a good guy to call, catching, not fishing. And or if Clay's booked up, you know, this guy right here sitting next to Mr. Tate Watkins Guide Service. So he learned from some of the best, and he's had Clay as a mentor, and you know I appreciate that, because I had guys that helped me that, you know, if Robert Edison hadn't have took a chance on me and hadn't have booked me that first guide trip, I don't know if I would have ever got into it, because you know, all I had ever done was took my friends and my family, and I didn't know how it would be having a stranger on the boat.
No, I think one thing that comes up as far as guiding, what Robert probably saw, you know, and everything. I can't speak for Robert, but you know, Robert and I have been doing this a long time. We know who's got it to be a great guide, and a big part of it's not only just catching fish, but it's being good with people and just a good person, and that's why you guys have done it, and you know, are doing well.
Yeah,
That's it.
well, and I've said it before. I mean, obviously you got to produce and catch fish, but there's more to it than that.
Exactly.
You got to be able to interact with people. You got to be able to handle those bad days like we're talking about. You got to figure out a way to entertain these people and keep them, you know, because I mean, I've had some tough days, man, on trips where I'm like, all right, I'm losing them. I got to do something to get them back. You know, I gotta get them back on board, and you know, let's grind this thing out and let's try to make something happen. And you know, we've had some bad days that's turned into real good days just from. I'll say, hey, let's stay an extra hour. You know, let's try to put something together. Let's try to make something happen. So, you know, if you take care of people and do people right, man, they'll come back.
They know when you're working hard.
They know when you.
Even if they say sometimes poking, you know, they're still just aggravating you. They still know you're doing a good job and working hard.
You know, the thing I hate the worst that people say is when you have a bad day is, well, it's better than a good day at work. I'm like, not for me. Not for me it ain't, because I'm working, man. This is my job, you know what I mean? So, but I get it though. I know what they're talking about. So, yeah, LJ, man, these guys, Clay's been doing this for a long time, and I've been knowing Clay for a pretty good while, seen him around Hammonds for many years, and you along with, I'd say you and Jeff Blair and Ron Mullins. I mean, I'm scared to start naming names. I'll leave somebody out, but you know, Mac Farr, you know, those are the guys that are, you know, that's been doing it, are still doing it, and I believe y'all will continue to do it. I mean, like I say, I don't see you slowing down anytime soon.
I don't see me doing anything else.
What kind of boat are you running now?
Sportsman. I bought a new Sportsman, Masters 24, you know.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
Over at TNS Marine, you know, they're great people over there. So
Okay.
if you need a boat, go see them. They're great people.
Yeah.
I've been dealing with them for years and can't say enough good about them.
Yeah.
And I know many others do too. It's in the guiding that all go over there, get their boat service, things of that nature.
Yeah.
It's great people.
Well, Clay, like I say, you've helped a lot of people through the years. Obviously, your son, you know, but people like Tate too, and I respect that. I appreciate you doing that, because, like I said earlier, that's the future of our sport. That's the only way it's going to continue to go on. If it wasn't for the guys, the pioneers like Dale Sheets and these guys that were, you know, that we come up under, that we learned things under, we didn't know. You know, I mean, like we were saying, back in the 90s when the striper thing really started coming about, nobody really knew as much stuff as they do now. And Dale, and there was a handful of guys, Doug Youngblood and them guys that figured it out, and we learned from them guys, you know, and so Tate has kind of been the same way with Clay. So, yeah, we appreciate everybody that's come in here. Henry said, that's a good one, Henry. He just said you should have been here tomorrow. Is what he tells his customers. You should have been here tomorrow. I thought it was you should have been here yesterday. Yeah, you gotta have something. Yeah, Jeff, you've been around a long time too, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Remember Jeff and I catching shad in the 90s.
Yeah. That's what I say. If I start naming people, I'll leave somebody out. But that was just off the top of my head. You know, I can't help but to think of the late Dale Sheets. I mean, he was a pioneer to me of the striper fishing on Lake Lanier. I think he started fishing Lanier he was fishing Lanier before stripers was even put in there.
Oh, absolutely.
And we lost Dale last year, and it was a big loss to the fishing community because he just, if you knew, I mean, he was just such a happy-go-lucky, laid-back kind of guy.
Yes.
I never run across anybody that didn't like Dale Sheets, man.
Absolutely.
He was a great guy. Miss him so.
And that video he did with Don Robertson that used to buy in Walmart and stuff, that was huge back in the day.
Yeah.
It was a great video.
Dale was famous, man. Yeah, Don Robertson. I'm not real familiar with Don Robertson. I've heard that name, Don Robertson, but I'm not super familiar with it. But yeah, Matthew said that Clay's always been good to come to the Oakwood Striper Club and talk every year, and we appreciate the striper clubs, and that's how I got my start in striper fishing, was the Oakwood and Lanier Striper Clubs. You're part of the Lanier Striper Club too, right? So look, tell everybody, we got a few announcements we got to make before we do this drawing, but tell everybody a little bit about the Lanier Striper Club. How can people that want to learn about striper fishing, how can they go about signing up for these striper clubs?
We got a meeting every Tuesday after the tournament. It's we got one tournament a month, and then the following Tuesday we have a meeting there, and you can go to the meeting and sign up, and you can do it online if I ain't mistaken, and it's at the VFW up there in Cumming,
Yeah.
off 9. So,
And y'all have great speakers that come in,
yeah.
like Clay and like Ron Mullins, Lionel. So yeah, so get up. Like I say, if you want to learn more, you want to be in a good.
Alex comes on.
Alex Vasquez, he's been on the podcast with us. Yeah, they have some really knowledgeable guys that have a lot of experience in that. You can learn from a lot of them. So, hang on, Johnny said, if you hadn't been out in a while fishing at the start of the day, I'm gonna read this out loud. Maybe you can answer this, Clay. If you have, scroll back up for me. If you haven't been out in a while fishing and it's the start of the day and you haven't figured out a pattern yet on what they're eating, what is your standard bait spread you put out?
I like, now, one thing I like to do is I have different size of hooks on, and you always match your bait to your hook size.
Yeah.
So that's when I put out a spread of, say, shiners, herring, and shad. Try to put a little bit of each out. And whenever I do get by, it's hard to keep up with 6-8 rods. Well, get bit, but if you got a different size hook on there, when you do get bit, when it comes in, you can keep up.
You know it's
What
small
you gotta
bait,
get.
big bait.
Yeah, and that helps save you some time there. And kind of my rule of thumb is once I get bit on that one, I'm gonna change another one out to, say, if you got 3 shiners and 3 trout out, and you get bit on the trout, next spread I'm gonna have 4 trout out and 2 shiners, and just keep
Kind of leaning towards that. Well,
leaning that way. And
that's
what do you think, Tate?
oh yeah.
I mean, that's how you got to do. I mean, yeah, like I say, this past weekend, we didn't know what to, because we caught a fish on Friday. We caught a pretty good fish on a trout, and we caught a 30-pound fish on a 6-inch shad, a small shad, medium shad. So, we started out the morning Saturday just with a good mixture of small bait, medium bait, big bait. But as the day went and we had our bites, we had 2 big fish in the tank. I'm like, heck, at this point, we got to upgrade.
Yeah.
And our kicker was a 21-pounder. I said, we're going to have a big fish too. So I put out every big bait I had and just said, it's, we're either going to get a big bite or we're not going to get bit at all. So that's kind of how I would have would approach that. So what are y'all talking about? Oh, I know what he's talking about. All right. Lionel is going to be at the Oakwood Striper. Is it Oakwood or Lanier?
Lanier.
Okay, Lionel's going to be at the Lanier Striper Club tomorrow night, the winner of the Striped Bass Challenge this past weekend on West Point Lake. And they said he's going to talk about big shad, but I don't know how much you'll get. I don't know how much you'll get him to talk, but I'm going to tell you what, he's a fun guy to be around though, either way. But no, you can learn from Lionel, even if he don't talk a whole lot. But so Clinton Main said he wanted Keith to go live. He wants to see Lionel dance. So the shad dance. Y'all boys ain't right. All right, we fixing to give away. What are we giving away? Where'd our hat go? We're gonna give away a hat, and we're gonna give away a Berkeley Magic Swimmer. Here you go, Tate.
All right.
Draw a name for us. Yeah, I know, Bill. He does, but we love him anyway. But
This is pretty funny.
Bill Carson. He's the one that give me this hat. I can't get. We got to redraw, man. He don't need this. He's probably got like 100 of them. Redraw.
Let's see here. Jeff Hurtland.
All right, Jeff. You could use a. So I'm on. Hey Jeff, if you're still on here, buddy, send me your address, and
Yeah, I can bring it to
you
him.
can take it to him. Okay. So Tate's gonna take this too. He's gonna take you this hat and this magic swimmer. So I think you'll put it to use. All right, Carter. Let Carter draw for the Hammond's gift card.
I grabbed two.
Oh.
Rodney Ainslinger. How do you say that?
Likewise.
Ainslinger.
Yeah, he's in the.
Got to late tomorrow night.
Okay.
Okay, he's in the. All right, so Rodney, you've won some stuff on here before, so what's the? I think that's what you know. What I was going. All right, I'm just gonna say it, Bill. Whenever I got in the truck, I told somebody, I said we got beat by that dang Mexican again, but hey, it is what it is. He's a heck of a fisherman, man. And like I say, he's a good guy and a fun guy to be around. But he's just, I'm gonna tell you, he ain't gonna tell you everything, and that's just tournament guys are that way.
You gotta be.
You gotta be. If you wanna win, you know, you can't. I mean, I'm not saying not share your basics and try to help people, but you can't tell everybody everything. Lionel knows. He's been around long enough to know that he probably knows the ones he can tell and the ones he can't tell. So, but look, we appreciate everybody that's come on here. And yeah, Rodney, send me. I don't know if I still got it, so send me. Or no, you're gonna take it to Rodney. You can take it to the stripe. Good. I don't have to ship nothing. I don't have to ship anything. So look. We're gonna wrap up with this. Y'all check these guys out, seriously. Clay Cunningham with Catching Not Fishing. If you want to do a striper trip on Lake Lanier, or Tate Watkins with Watkins Guide Service. And follow this guy right here, because I got Carter Cunningham. I got a feeling that he's probably gonna be on the Bassmaster. You already on the Bassmaster High School trail, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
But your goal is to keep moving up.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
I
I
mean-
definitely want to fish some bigger tournaments. Maybe college too.
Yes.
I haven't really thought.
So we may have the next Kevin Van Dam sitting in here and we don't even know it, man.
Oh, definitely.
We can look back on this one day and say, man, we had this kid in here when he was young and starting out. So, but I really appreciate y'all coming in here, taking your time to come in here and talk fishing with us, and appreciate all of our followers, all of our subscribers. If you hadn't subscribed to our YouTube channel, go and do that at Team Backwoods Fishing. And once again, I want to thank B&B Custom Outdoors, AA Graphics and Signs, Jill of All Trades, Simpson Trucking and Grading, Tangle Trout Cabin Rentals, Captain Max, and Heads Up 2 Taxidermy. So appreciate all those guys. Appreciate everybody that's tuned in. And what we got? Oh, hang on. We got one more thing. I'm sorry, Jason. I about forgot. I told you I'd forget if we didn't write down. So look, there's a striper tournament coming up on March 29th on Lake Lanier, the weekend before the Striped Bass Challenge. It's two fish format. It's the same format as they did in the Captain Mac tournament, so it's going to be the length tournament, right? And you can sign up at Hammond's. It says see Tim Hawkins. I'm guessing that's who you're talking about. To get the app and to figure out how to use it, it's $60 a boat. So that'd be great practice for the Striped Bass Challenge if you might be planning on pre-fishing anyway. So March 29th, they're going to be I'm guessing, is that the Lanier tournament that's kind of putting that on, or is that just a private deal, or?
Kind of between us and Tim.
So it's
Hammond.
kind of Hammond's is putting it on. Okay, so that'll be good. So y'all check that out, March 29th. It says it'd be from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. And is it a live weigh-in on the app? You just you don't have.
It's like the Captain Mike tournament.
But does everybody have to go back to Hammond's to?
If you win, you can make there and get your money.
Okay, so it's easy. You don't have to go anywhere or anything like that. So, yeah, Bill, we're looking forward to having gunners. So I told Charles this past weekend that we're gonna have to build him a little step stool, because I'd never met him until this weekend. And I mean, this kid is little. He's a little bitty fella, but he's gonna be coming in here with us on. Hang on, let me get my pet. Let's see here. April 28th, we're gonna have Charles and Gunner Ingram, the Gunners Fishing Adventures. They've been fishing the Striped Bass Challenge and they've been doing a great job. And so April 14th, we're gonna have Keith McKinnon and Riley Nicholson. They're going to be coming in here with us. So we got some good shows coming up. Looking forward to it. Appreciate these guys tuning in, and we're gonna head out of here. We got to get in the bed, get rested up, and go to work tomorrow. You fishing tomorrow, Clay?
Absolutely.
All right.
Tomorrow.
Well, we got to let Clay get home where he can get up in the morning and go fishing. So we appreciate everybody tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.